Hello, my name is Joe and welcome to Only Fails. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.
So, what has been your experience with failure?
I've experienced more than my fair share of failure, I'd say. My adult life has been just a constant, kind of ups and downs, but it's been pretty much like a shitty death spiral, to where I'm at today. And it's every chance I've gotten to try to better myself, either I've squandered and messed up, or something in life has, just kind of kicked me in the teeth as I thought I was doing good things. But hell, I don't know. I guess as far as failure, you ain't really failed until you completely give up, and I ain't really there yet. I'm getting close. Sometimes it seems like, but yeah, for the most part, it's you just keep moving forward.
So, you were a really good soccer player.
Oh yeah,
In high school.
yes sir, yes sir. I excelled in a number of things. I grew up in a military family, under the thumb, so to speak. Very, very. I would say it's a good home. I didn't want for anything, but I was a meek child, but at the same time outgoing. But about my sophomore year, into my sophomore year of high school is where I really started to come into my own. I guess it hit the puberty and whatnot. Got some height and some bass in my voice, and started excelling at sports and music and things of that nature, and just coming into my own as teens do, and maintained kind of like a BC average. I did well, and then graduated with honors in music and science. I was awarded a couple scholarships, either one for music, one for soccer, and I chose soccer. I think most men in my position would have. I was only 17 when I graduated high school and went on up to college. And however, I had gotten hurt, one time in playing at high school level, and my hand went kind of untreated, undiagnosed, because I was a goalkeeper. I know most people would be like, "You don't use your hands in soccer, stupid." yeah, you do. But I got kicked in the hand real good, and apparently they told me it was bursitis and tendonitis and things like that, and it ended up being a fracture that got bad, and so bad that it required a couple surgeries. And that pretty much quickly extinguished my soccer career. I was only there for the 1 year, or one semester, excuse me, and just like a typical cliche of young people, I went to college with every intention of just playing sports. I mean, I was going to get an education, but that, in my mind at 17 years old was secondary. I was going to go, play in the major league soccer because it was just kind of up and coming. And, but anyway, I got hurt, so I wasn't playing. I wasn't even really practicing. A lot of depression, and I turned to smoking pot with some people and partying, and then, not being able to play, I quit going to class. And, it came to a point where I had passed one class and it was racquetball, of all things. Woo! But the administrative office kind of told me, well, it's academic probation, which basically I'd have to leave the school for a semester and then, come back and try again. And then maybe after a semester of success, then I could play again and honor my scholarship. So basically, it was I was in a rock and a hard place, and I said, well, what's any other alternatives? They said, you can leave. So I just elected to check out. I didn't really have any good advice on the matter. And I just bailed out. And from there, I went to back home for a short while. My parents lived in Germany at the time, and I was staying with my grandparents. And apparently was driving my nana crazy. She was pushing me to do something with myself, and she was right, but I was 17. Not being very cooperative with that. But I ended up joining the Navy. And that didn't go according to plan either. I was in for roughly a year when the old injury flared up, and it caused me to where I could not do my PT for the day, like push-ups and sit-ups, because those were daily at boot camp and things of that nature. And oh yeah, but it swelled up on me real bad one day, the size of a grapefruit. You know what I mean? Like just out of bounds big. I thought something was wrong. And it was just that injury that had the bone that was fractured, like a tendon fiber kind of stuff grew over the bone, holding it together. And when I was doing hardcore workout or whatever, that little fiber snapped, and it sent me into a yeah, it was pretty rough. But so that ended my Navy career because they X-rayed it and CT scanned it, and they saw that the decay and like the arthritis, bursitis, everything that had set in was clearly something that happens over time, and it didn't happen while I was enlisted with them. So they cut me a check and sent me on my way, and yeah, I went back home to my grandparents again just for a short while, and then I moved to Germany, and because I was young enough to be a dependent under my dad's civil service. And I was able to get my first surgery for free, where they did a bone graft and put a screw in it, and was hoping that would take, but that was unsuccessful. You know, picking up right there in Germany with the surgery, I just start kind of living life, but developing patterns, you know, with the way I lived that life, staying with mom and dad, rent free, and working full-time or part-time, it didn't matter, you know, and just starting to enjoy a nightlife, I guess you could say. At that point, I had smoked pot and drank, and that was it. You know, I didn't really venture too far from that. I got too many DARE stickers at home, if anybody knows what those are. So anyway, eventually we come back to the States and back to Florida. And I reconnect with some friends from high school that come to find out was doing all kind of partying and smoking pot and things of that nature, that they thought I was too square, you know, to join them in that back then. But we ended up hanging out and partying a lot. And I remember I stuck to my guns and even elected to be like a designated driver a lot of times, you know, until one day, one of my buddies, we was at the club, he was getting ready to close, and that sumbitch snuck up behind me and crammed something in my mouth along with his nasty finger, son of a bitch, and it just said, swallow it. I was like, what is this? It tastes like bleach or pine sol. I don't know. It was very chemically and very, very not good tasting. But the effect that ensued was pretty much, it gave me the thought that, holy shit, this is what drugs are like? And that kind of opened the doors for me. I guess they say that, you know, marijuana is a gateway for lots of folks, but it wasn't for me. I kind of just did that until that dude put a ecstasy pill in my mouth, MDMA. I had no idea what I was getting into with that. But that opened up a whole lot of new doors and pathways that I would have never even looked at before, you know. And that kind of became my life after that. Was I'm gonna party, you know, do what I got to do barely to kind of get by. I mean, I don't think I set out to just do the minimum, but eventually I started doing that, you know, just whatever the minimum was to get by, and kind of like blowing my money and then manipulating my parents, you know, to kind of help me cover what I may have neglected and things like that. Just ups and downs, work, drugs, nightlife. losing jobs. Lost plenty of those. I'll tell you one that I lost was a pipe fitting job. I had spent the night before on ecstasy with a couple girls and pushed it to the limit. Not only was I late to work that morning, but I went to the old poop house. What do you call them? The porta potty, and I fell asleep in that sumbitch for about 4 hours, and they were beating on the door, trying to wake me up. But I was toast. When I finally come out, I knew just something in the air that it wasn't right, and yeah, sure enough, they let me go. That was probably the most memorable termination I received, or reason for, anyway. But continuing to do that, I finally met a girl at a club one time. Well, I met lots of girls, don't get it twisted. But one that I met her because I was so out of my gourd and feeling myself, as they say, that I walked up to her table with her and all her friends and just started singing. I don't know what it was, but that little critter came home with me that night. We didn't do anything though, but she never left. We were together for 8 years after that point. She became the mother of my children, 2 of them, 2 daughters. And we were together for 8 years, like I said, but only married for 1, the final year, because even though she got pregnant and didn't do drugs or party anymore, she really took the role that I guess a mom should. She was a role model type mom, in a way, and I respect her for that. But I didn't stop doing whatever it was that I like to do, and continuing to try new things and just squander money and then get people to help me cover it or whatever, rob from Peter to pay Paul. And I managed to get by for an awfully long time. Like, I cannot believe how long that lasted, really. But as far as that marriage went, she, like I said, married for 1 year because I had squandered all the money and such. And her parents bailed us out. They said that y'all can come live with us and get on your feet, rent free in Alabama, whatever. But one catch is you got to be married if you're going to both live with us. Otherwise, Susan and the babies can come with us and figure it out, which is, I respect that in a way, but we definitely shouldn't have done it. Things were rocky enough, and just kind of getting married to appease someone or for the kids or whatever, if it's going to be rocky and bad, it's not a good idea in my opinion. But too young to know better and too young to care. I don't know, whatever the saying is, but so yeah, eventually it got bad, and I was asked to leave, and rightfully so, because I'd been squandering all that money and things of that nature, and just playing dumb. I don't know where it went. I thought it was there, but and I moved to California, where my parents are at. Dad's civil service, former Army, so he's constantly moving wherever he can get a bigger paycheck, which I guess that's why he's got free pensions today, and quite nice. But so I go to California, and you know what, man? I totally forgot. Like, during this whole time with the ex-wife, I was steadily getting strung out on opiates and things of that nature. That's what caused me to squander the money. Not so much the recreational partying, but the pain management / addiction that had developed because of surgery and things of that nature snowballed. And I went from taking, the prescribed 1 Percocet or Loratab every 4 to 6 hours or whatever, to, I remember one time I ate 14 of those things at one time just to, balance out, because I'd gotten into a habit of, 3 or 4 Oxycontins at a time, sometimes 4 a day, 5 a day. It depended. And that's a nasty, terrible addiction to have. y'all see it now these days, you know, with the fentanyl and all that stuff. It's all kind of the same shit essentially. And but yeah, so anyway, I'm strung out on those things really bad and not handling myself very well. And so I moved out there to California, and you know, it's crazy. Like, I was trying to do the right thing when I got there, and just kind of stick to my old guns, like back in the day, that old marijuana and some alcohol, you know, socially acceptable in most circles. And I didn't hold true. I actually went kind of filling people out trying to get some pot. And this is California. You would think that it'd be pretty easy, but in fact, the only things available to me immediately were Oxycontin and methamphetamines. And you know, I had already had some experience with both, so I just kept running with it. Yeah, so I'm back at my mom and dad's for, like, I don't know, this is probably the 5th or 6th time at that point, I think, essentially. And I guess it ain't really gotten old at that point, you know what I mean? Because I continued to do it. Eventually, my parents get tired of my shit finally, you know, because I continued those same behaviors. One time, I got the day off, or I'm not working. I don't know which one it is, but my dad's getting ready for work, and I'm trying to be impressive because there's something that I want. I either need to borrow a vehicle or money or something along them lines, or I'm just trying to show it good so I have some, you know, good stuff in the bank I can cash in later. But I got the lawnmower in the yard, and I tell him, I said, Daddy, I need a couple bucks for gas for the lawnmower. I'm gonna get this all tightened up when you get home from work. Gonna have an immaculate yard. When he got home, his garage door was open. That lawnmower was still in the same spot in that front yard, and I didn't come back home or answer my phone for 3 weeks. I went and got into some, just tweaking my ass off with some people that I had just met, and I stayed 3 weeks with them. That's insane. I even had that girl answer my phone one time to talk to my mom and tell her that I was sleeping, but she had seen that it said mama across the screen just to kind of relax them. But I was so keyed up and paranoid I couldn't talk to them. You know, and each day it just got worse and worse. That's funny. But anyway, so they get tired of my stuff, man, and they decide that they're gonna do the tough love, and they give me a couple options. You know, we'll buy you a bus ticket anywhere you want to go, or we'll still help you out and help get you back on your feet if you go to this halfway house and start trying to do the right thing, whatever. And well, I don't really want to go nowhere that I don't know where to go. So I elect to go to this, you know, rehab halfway house situation I've never done before. And I do well. I last for about a whole year and 2 months kind of thing. And then, you know, I'm doing my own thing and got extra money in my pocket, got a good job. So I decided to start Weekend Warrior, you know, using and hanging out and partying. And that eventually leads to my initial, my first arrest, or not first arrest. I had a misdemeanor marijuana, but whatever. But this was a felony, possession of methamphetamines. And wow, up until that point, you know, I really kind of did things frivolously and didn't think about consequences like law enforcement. And that was a big wake-up call, because California jails, I mean, they say that they're run kind of like the prisons are, I guess, and it was Kern County, Bakersfield, California, and it was a little bit rough. Definitely a culture shock to me, because I was naive and just silly. But anyway, so I caught that charge, and I ended up getting kind of sentenced to rehab with the Salvation Army. And I don't know if that's always a good thing, because I just ended up meeting a whole lot of people that do what I do. And if we can find any excuse for any of us to do them, well, geez, we'll sure find it, you know. And so eventually, I'm at that rehab, man. And I remember at this point in my life, I had done just basically the meth and the cocaine, the pills, and but I never thought about like heroin or things of that nature. And we're watching Breaking Bad, and there's this scene where they do the meth with the heroin, the speedball thing, and he sold me on that shit because I had to go and try it, and I did, and it was, matter of fact, he undersold it if you ask me. It was magic, and that was a whole nother elevation to my drug use and experimentation, and it took it took me to some places. Basically, I continued that kind of thing for a while. I took a liking to that and added it to my regiment, so to speak, and doing the up and down things and do good for about 6 months and then bump my head again or whatever. But eventually it got to a point where I was just doing the heroin by itself. I'm not even sure how that transition occurred, but I did nonetheless. But I was kind of like a upbeat heroin user. Like, I didn't do that nod thing where you see people kind of falling out and leaning over like something. I don't understand that. But yeah, I did that. And I remember one day, I feel like I'm saying a lot.
Okay.
One day I was waiting on this girl to bring some over, and we was gonna just do what we do. And the one thing I noticed about the heroin is that it kind of really killed my sex drive. So like the females were just like, there was no motivation to try to, get down like that, which is something the meth has a lot of pull for a lot of people. I know for me it's the sex and the way it kind of helps with pain. It numbs you out and whatnot. But so anyway, I'm waiting on this girl, and I'm drinking whiskey most of the evening, and it gets on into the early morning, and she shows up finally, and long story short, I did my thing, and I went to the kitchen to rinse stuff out, wash my hands, whatever, and that's the last thing I remember. She came into the kitchen a few minutes later and found me, and I laugh about this now, but she said my face was in the window blinds, at the window in front of the sink, water still running, my hands in the sink, I'm turning blue because I'm ODing, but she lays me on the ground, calls authorities, and gets me the resuscitation and help that I need, which is, that's pretty solid. I hope that she's doing well and okay, because you hear so many stories of people just leaving a sumbitch. We were at my house, or the place I was renting a room. My roommate's out of town, so he would have came back to. That'd have been terrible. I wouldn't want that. Wish that upon him neither. But the last thing I remember was doing that at the sink, and then I woke up in the ER, and that's before this Narcan stuff was so popular. And man, I tell you, that's something to wake up to. That's quite the jolt. They said they had to work on me off and on, kind of like I would start to slip and they bring me back, and technically died, I guess, as far as your sinus rhythm and things of that nature, or was starting the process of death, lack of oxygen, all that shit. And yeah, when I came to, it was a big jolt, and then confusion and pain, where they had, because for someone to actually do chest compressions and things like that, life-saving procedures, they hurt, like fractured ribs from compressions, or maybe that girl dropped me on my head in that kitchen, and she just didn't want to say so. I don't know, but she was there when I came to, and yeah, I was able to just check out from the hospital about 15 minutes later. I felt okay, a little banged up and scared and confused, because at this point in my life, I'm fairly still young, and I have this kind of an idea of what I think afterlife or things are. And you hear so many stories from folks about, yeah, when I was technically dead for this amount of time. I saw a light, or relatives, or whatever it is that folks, they have all kinds of experiences they say they come back with, and I didn't have anything except dark. I mean, as far as it was nothingness. I mean, I wasn't even aware of it, essentially, and that shook me up pretty fucking good, and I'm lucky it wasn't the ultimate failure when it comes to that. Like, she could have left me, or been too late checking on me. I mean, there's so many things that could have went awry with that, and I'm lucky. But the message that I got coming out of that was that, there's not an afterlife for me. Like, I ain't really earned one, so to speak, or and that was kind of a scary thought. I don't really dwell on the mortality too much, but the thought of that was kind of shitty. So I checked myself back into rehab. Like, this time I did it for me and myself, and I stayed in that. I was scared to death of going back to opiates, and I haven't touched them since. That was 2012. I've taken a few prescriptions for like surgery and different things from the doctor, but I've always had somebody there that I give that prescription to, and them dose me out accordingly, because I just don't trust myself with that shit, period. You think you can manage it, and then it gets away from you so fast, and then you think you need it, you have to have it, or you can't function. Which is fairly true, I would say. It's pretty miserable. But, yeah, man, I stay in that for a year and a half because I'm scared. It's a 6-month program. I stayed 3 times. I graduate 3 times from that thing. And then I finally go on about my business, and I go take care of my granny, my mom's mom. They're in California. But eventually I sell her house for her and move her back to Florida because she's getting to where she can't, do things. And the plan was to move her in with mom and dad, and that's what we did. And then once I'm back in Florida, what do? I get back with my I get my granny moved back to Florida with my parents, and I'm staying there too because I've been living with granny for the past year and a month, I guess, is what it took. So I'm doing well for myself, I guess. Like, I'm not fucking off, pardon my language, like I used to. I would be drinking some beers and smoking some grass where I could get it, but for the most part I was just trying to do good. And well, yeah, eventually I just fell into old habits again. I'm run into an old friend, or I don't remember exactly how it kicked back off, but eventually it went from me kind of getting that itch and calling a number or running into somebody, hey, can you get me some, and it took off from there. But I'll say this, with the absence of opiates, life was manageable, and using at the same time, and that's what I did. I was so scared of doing the opiates and stuff again. I actually, you could probably classify this as an opiate, because in my opinion they are so much alike it's not even fair to call them the same. I mean, different. But Suboxone, I remember, I was living with the girl from high school, and she's kind of a square, or straight edge, just alcohol. Didn't mind pot, but whatever. And so to keep myself in check from methamphetamines or opiates, I got on that Suboxone, man. I got introduced to someone, this older lady that would sell them to me, and we got to be fairly close, her family and I, and I'd babysit so she could run some errands from time to time. The little 2 grandbabies, boys, like 6 and 8 or 8 and 10 or some shit like that. I just spent whatever free time I had, kind of with them secondarily. It was cool. I mean, I wasn't taken away from anything with the lady I was with, but doing the Suboxone, and that helped. But I remember when I ran out or they were unavailable, especially since I wasn't being prescribed. I was just buying them, on the street, and like that was just as miserable as the damn opiates. And I made myself wean off those because I don't. That's just a most miserable experience I've ever felt. Really, is that just it's torture. Anyway, so trying to get off those and stay away from the opiate type stuff, I get back into smoking a little bit of meth and pot, and then just whatever, if I find mushrooms or if they're in season, I'll go get them myself. I like the hallucinogens too. But I remember I had eventually caught another charge after kind of doing the same thing, back and forth to mom and dad's, and I caught another charge because I was riding around with this girl. We were pretty thick as thieves, and at this point, I'd had a couple more jobs and gotten fired. I even had my own place and a truck for a little bit there, and then when I squandered that off, essentially, I started just riding around with this girl. We slept in her car a lot and just used. But one day, we were going to spend the weekend with a buddy of mine at his house, or it's an apartment, and get showers, do some laundry, eat a good meal, shit that you don't really get to do while you're in a car. And this stupid Pop-Tart is falling asleep in the parking lot. And I'm like, man, come on, let's get on in there, please. Let's go inside. And she's falling asleep, and it's being a pain in the ass. And I do try to be a gentleman, and not leave her out there. So I roll me a little blunt and trying to get her to wake up and hit it with me, and then we can go inside. And eventually I pass out. And I wake up to that dink, 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 dink. And we're surrounded technically by at least 3 units of sheriff's deputies and whatnot. And man, I got a broken weed bong at my feet. I got a baggie of methamphetamine. I had spice. I had pills. I had all kinds of stuff at that point in time. Not much of anything, but like a smorgasbord of a lot. And it ended up being quite a few charges. And they like knocked 6 of them off and only charged me for 2 felonies, I think. And yeah, so here I am back on probation after sitting in jail for about 3 months and drying out good. But burning bridges, man. I'm starting to run out of places I can go and start over. So I just kind of reconnect with some of the same people. I know there ain't no proper way to do things, and it's hard to be that solid family member for an addict that's just kind of up and down and off the rails. You never know. So, I mean, I get it, but a lot of times when they try to do that tough love thing, like, you're out of here, you can't stay here, I'll say that for myself, and I think it's the same with a lot of folks. We don't know where else to go. We don't have environments that are conducive to our success to go to. We end up back at the trap house or at the dealer or with our friend that's strung out, or just places where we're not going to better our situation there. It's just going to further erode a lot of times. And I don't know how you combat that. It's a tough thing, I'm sure. But anyhow, so I'm doing the probation thing, and I'm buying freaking pee so I can test every month. Matter of fact, I was getting it from that little old lady that sold me Suboxone. She would get it from them grandchildren of hers, the 2 boys, and sell it to me. I'd buy enough to keep in the freezer and use as needed. Yeah, but I eventually end up in a place where I had violated my probation, and so I guess I had a warrant out, but I didn't realize it. And I'm staying with this gal that she came into my bedroom because I wasn't answering the door. She just wanted to check on me, and I guess I had been up too long. Probably, yeah, no, I was doing quite a bit of meth at that point, drowning my sorrows and staying cloudy, so I didn't have to think about, all the times that I've had something going for me, and then threw that way. I don't know if it's boredom or what, but I get complacent after a while, it seems like, and kind of lose my way. But yeah, so she ended up coming in the bedroom and trying to wake me up, and I wouldn't wake up. But I mean, I don't understand why it was that important that I wake up. No matter. Anyway, so she calls the ambulance, and they wake me up. I'm breathing and everything. I don't understand. But the cops showed up too, the sheriffs, and I had the warrant. So they're like, hospital or jail. Or if you go to the hospital, you go to jail afterwards, kind of thing. And so I was like, well, fuck, just take me to jail. Let's get it over with. And, I stayed in jail for about 7 months on those. I had done 3 months and then 7 months. So 10 months total. And when I went to court finally on it, I told the judge that I had no intention of doing this anymore, that I was going to change my scenery and I was going to move to Idaho and help my grandfather out with his ranch. Now at that current time, I really had no plans on coming out here whatsoever. I was flirting with the idea, but I didn't know nothing about this place, and I was just kind of using that as a, like, I'll get out of your hair if you just let me go now. And she did. She said, best of luck, and off I went. But then sure as shit, getting out of jail, I go back to my dad's house, my mom and dad's house. My mom's out of town. She's in Idaho helping my grandfather with his ranch and whatnot. And after a few days, my dad come to me and said, you got anything going on? I'm like, no, I don't. I just got out of the can. And he said, well, your mom could use some help out in Idaho with your grandpa's stuff, and she just can't get it done, by herself. And they said that they'd fly me out there and even compensate me. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of unnecessary. They've put up with my shit for so long, and I'm aware of that, and don't take it for granted anymore. So I agree. And I come out. My grandpa lived in Emmett and raised crops and a little bit of livestock, 3.5 acre ranch, and sold his produce at the farmers market twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, and there in Emmett. And yeah, I started doing that just for the summer, and wasn't really trying to get away from the drugs all that much, because I actually snuck an 8-ball of methamphetamine with me out here. I was scared to bring weed for some reason. I don't know, that didn't make sense. Plus I heard that Oregon had, it was right there. But yeah, I tuck a bag of methamphetamine in my crotch area, essentially, and I had to go through one of them body scanner situations, and that, I was a little nervous, but I went right through, which surprised me. And so yeah, I came to Idaho with that, and it was nice. I appreciate it here and enjoy it, and it was the kind of quiet that I needed, because Florida's, it's everything you hear on the news, buddy. People trying to eat people and throwing alligators through drive-through windows. It's just retarded every time you turn on the TV. I hear something crazy headline, and I'm like, they're from Florida, aren't they? And sure enough, they don't disappoint. So I had to get away, and that's what I've done. I've been here roughly about 4.5 years now, going on 5, and unfortunately I lost my grandfather around the COVID time, like the end of the COVID time, where we were quarantined and all that dumb shit. Kind of like he had a tear in his abdomen somewhere internal, and because of coughing from the the COVID or whatever he caught, that ruptured, and he kind of bled out overnight, like in his sleep, or I don't know how it happened, but it was rough. And that, again, felt like another failure for me, because that's my mama's daddy, dude, and she left me there. I mean, she didn't say, hey, you're taking care of your grandfather, but I mean, there are certain expectations from a mom if you're taking care of my daddy, and and there's the personal responsibility that I do drugs, periodically. I've had a rough life, but I don't think I'm a bad person by no means. I give you my shirt off my back. I never want to see anybody do wrong, not even the people that have done wrong to me. I don't wish them no ill will, because they're going to get theirs, I promise you. And it won't be by my hand. It's not my place. They just, But, yeah, I felt like, that one really kicked me back down, where I'd kind of gained a lot of ground on just looking inward, and learning more about me, and kind of gaining a little bit more maturity and insight and just reflection. And ultimately my time here has kind of helped me to become a little bit more enlightened, just as far as my story goes, and my existence and how I operate, but that one sucked, I mean, how do you tell your mom, like, he's gone, and it was on my watch? That was it ate me up, and like I said, it kind of just threw me back into a turmoil and depression that, I mean, it was a rough one. But surprisingly, a little bit easier coming back. I mean, I went through about 2 months of because I'd never found. I mean, I've seen some dead bodies at a distance or at the wake before a funeral and things like that, but I'd never, especially a loved one, and that did something to me, because I had nightmares for better part of 2 or 3 months or so, and it's a lucky thing that I was in jail on a probation violation. I got to think that was probably some kind of, call it what you want, but it was something intervened, because had I not been incarcerated at the county jail at that time, there's no telling what I would have done or how much I would have consumed to try to bury, and then that would have just been that much worse when I got out. And so, while it sucked, and I probably looked a little silly to my cellmates, because I would wake up crying or screaming or whatever, it was a little bit of a rough time, and finally made it through that. And the Treasure Valley, Gem County Sheriff's Office and jail there, I got to thank them, quite honestly, because they treated me with respect and concern and care, and I was fed well and treated well, and that, ultimately having a safe and comfortable environment helped me get to where I wouldn't self-sabotage, I guess, essentially. But yet the failures continue. After I got out of jail, after my grandpa died, I went to the sober house for about a year and 3 months, stone cold sober, and then I got a job. Everything's going well. Got a car. I moved out of the sober house into a different home where I'm just renting a room. Things are going well. And then I get lonely and bored, and the wrist pain, because I mean, that never goes away. That's a daily thing, and it is all I can do to manage, just taking ibuprofen and Aleve, rotating them two. So I started messing around again. Not as heavy by any means, but I would dare say I'm not completely sober most days. A little head change or a little bit of self-medication. I don't know what you want to call it. But I definitely don't get with the boogie like I used to, because it's a little bit harder to recover from. But yeah, so currently, I got into a car accident. I've lost a place of residence. I've lost 3/4 of my belongings. And yeah, my car is totaled. It's been 7 months since that accident. And the insurance company just now is trying to assess it for damages. When I called the record yard the other day, the car has been destroyed. So I don't even know what I'm going to do with that. But that's like life telling me you don't deserve to win. I guess. I don't know. It's pretty dumb. And all I can say is I think maybe I'm destined for something big. Because, I mean, this is a lot of just rubbing my nose in my own poo and telling me I'm wrong. Yeah. So right now I'm just working little side jobs, odd jobs, trying to get that car situation squared away, because I haven't been able to commit to a full-time job because I can't guarantee I can get there every day necessarily, you know. I mean, I could damn sure try if one was close enough, but
Do you think you'll ever get to a point where you're drug free and you just stay off of it and stay clean?
that depends on what you classify as drugs. You know, I think if you classify marijuana, cannabis as a drug, then no, I will never. I think that's going to be a part of my life, because you know, people have many different views or points of view on it. Mine is that I'm an advocate because it does so many positive things, and I don't understand why it even, you know, got the schedule of narcotic level that it did. It doesn't deserve that. So yeah, I'm going to always smoke pot, and until I get this wrist straightened out, which Medicaid will pay for my surgery, so I'm hoping to do that soon, but probably not till winter. You know, when it's a little bit harder to work anyway. So yeah, no, I'm probably going to always smoke pot, and I mean, I enjoy the partying every now and then. Like, you don't have to go hard and whatnot, but man, I love mushrooms. I love just getting out there and doing things like that. But that's a form of stress relief in a way for me. It's not like, oh, let's go just look at all the pretty colors and things that ain't really there. It's more of a spiritual journey, you know, where I get enlightened, and yeah, it's full of giggles and fun. But I've had some pretty intense ones here lately that make you look deep inside, you know, and kind of check you. And they were good experiences. Like, I enjoy that. So that'll always be a part of my life. Opiates and heroin? No way. No way, man. And I do anything I can to keep somebody from going down that road. There's alternative medicines that actually work, you know, and I hate to sound like some kind of nut, but there's something to that frequency healing too, you know, or stem cells, or, I mean, there's so many different things to keep people off hard drugs, you know. I've done quite a number of them, and probably will do more, but just not like, you know, as naive and recklessly as I used to, and definitely not the harder drugs if I don't need to.
Is there anything else you want to say? You got any closing comments or anything?
And I appreciate you letting me do this. I hope it's all right and not too boring, you know, for folks. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, we'll see how the rest goes. You know, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'll say this, that life has given me a heavy dose of no and butt in my head. But then I've done a lot of it to myself as well. And I'd be dishonest if I said otherwise. But, you know, I've had a hand in it as well, making decisions. But it ain't got me down so far where I want it to be over, or where I want to give up completely. You know, I've had some depressive states where it just don't do nothing for weeks on end. But no, I'm not going to give up anytime soon. I'll be damned if I leave this life, without having at least met life back on at par. You know what I mean? I'm gonna break even with the house. Believe that. Yes, sir. I'm not going down in the negatives. So we'll see. One thing I've learned is about me. If I get to where I'm trying to control the outcome, and you know what I mean, and it doesn't go well. Basically, if I just relax, go with the flow a little bit, think about choices, and not be so impulsive, we'll be all right. I'm working out of it. You know what I mean? My pawpaw used to say, Joe, you start using your whole brain till you're about 38 or 39. Then you hear that's your head coming at your ass. And I was a late bloomer, so that probably happened at about 41, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like every day, every year, you gain a little bit more knowledge about yourself and about the way the world works and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm optimistic, believe it or not.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I kind of feel like a crash test dummy at this point. That's my job, is to hit that block, over and over again. So can't nobody do it with the flair that I do it.
There you go. Well, thanks for sharing your story.
No problem,
This
man.
takes courage and bravery, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.